What's up, fam? Agent O here, and today I had a friend of mine from work to ask me to give him $25, and I was like, what the hell? Why am I going to give you $25? And then he gave me this, and I was like, alright, I'm going to give you $25. So, without further ado, I am going to review the X-Men Legends series, Marvel Rogue, the 90s Jim Lee that we all have been waiting for them to redo since the Toy Biz days, when they put out that very ugly looking figure with the leather jacket that everybody pretty much uses to kit bash into a custom proper Jim Lee Rogue. So I'm gonna get this out of the package and get to reviewing. And so here we go. This is Jim Lee Rogue. And I have to say that overall I'm impressed with the look of this figure. I'll talk about that first before I get into my nitpicks and gripes with Marvel Legends in general, as I usually do. Like I said, this figure actually looks really damn good. It's the kind of Rogue figure I think we all have been wanting from Marvel Legends, and not exactly from... I mean, I've seen a few customizers do a bang-up job, and actually do a better job than what Hasbro did. But this is, for Hasbro, this is really good. You know, the body is your standard. It's probably the Catwoman body, more than likely. With different arms, obviously, because he's got the leather jacket and the gloves. But I think the whole body is basically Catwoman. You know, you can see it from the back, and you can see it from the front. She's built like a woman. She's built like how you've always seen her in the comics. Buxom, Southern Belle, that sort of thing. I'm actually pretty impressed with the paint job. I haven't bought a Marvel Legends figure in a long time, and maybe I got lucky with this one because, you know, my friend picked it out. I didn't, because usually whenever I go hunting for figures and it's a Marvel Legends, I usually try to look really hard to make sure that, you know, there's no imperfections or, you know, screw ups or anything. And I just want to talk about her face first. I will eventually, I'll have pictures of her face, but I was actually impressed. As you can see, she does not have derp eye, which is what I like to call it, where one eye is painted. She has like Forrest Whitaker eye. You can call it that too. Paint apps on her face are well done. The sculpt is really nice, I will have to admit. It's really good for Marvel Legends. Her hair is nicely sculpted, of course. Very nice job. I love the bandana on her head. I love that there's no paint slop anywhere, where there's no bleed or anything. Everything is painted properly. They even managed to get like blush. They painted like a blush effect on her cheeks, and it looks good. It's not overpowering. It's nice and subtle. Like I said, I'm impressed with this figure. They didn't give her face that gloss, that glossy sheen that I know you saw with the Marvel Legends Captain Marvel figure, and this works. I mean, I don't mind the glossy sheen where her face looks like she's glowing or whatever. I don't care about that. That's fine. But I think maybe some people might have an issue with that, but it's whatever. I kind of wish her hair, the white part, was a little bit more white and not as grayed out. It's like they maybe gave it one layer of white and that was it. It's cool because it doesn't pop out that much, but if they maybe gave it a little bit more, because it does need to pop somewhat more. It kind of looks like it blends in with the rest of the figure chromatically, and I really wanted her white to pop, because you always see it in the comics. That part of her hair that's all white, it really stands out, and I like that. Great sculpt with the jacket. This is like one of the few times where I can forgive a plastic jacket. Usually I do prefer a cloth like jacket or trench coat, but this works for Rogue and this works for this figure because like I said, it's a good sculpt. Moving on to the paint apps. There's actually no slop on this figure. There's like a little speck right there on her booty, but you know, you can see right there, but it's not bad, and I can forgive that, you know, because this is a lot better than what I've usually gotten from a Marvel Legends figure. Overall, the green paint apps are just done really well, because I'm pretty sure this is all cast in yellow. I would have really liked the red to stand out a bit more. Maybe if they had painted the triangles on the inside of the X black, it would have made the red pop out a bit more. But, you know, that's a little nitpick of mine. It's true to the comic, and in the comics, you know, it was just a red X, circle X. They got the black X on her, over her heart, and you know the black accents on her costume. I mean, they made sure to do this right. I love the sculpted belt. I like that it's not affixed to her waist, so you can have it kind of tilted if you want in her poses, because there were some images where, you know, the belt, you could tell the belt was loose because it was all over the place, and that works for her, for the figure. Not really much else to say about the body because it's a body they've used before, but I do want to gripe about the boots. These little accent pieces, if they had just sculpted these in place, that would have done this figure even more justice, because I hate how they're just floating around, floaty pieces that don't really stay in place. I'm sure I could probably super glue them, probably in the front pieces, front area. I can super glue these pieces in place, but they should have just sculpted. They should just took some time to sculpt the figure. Instead of sculpting these new pieces, they could have brought up whatever CAD program they sculpted the original body in and tooled it that way, so that when they make it, when they make them, I guess they would have to make a new mold for that, for the legs. And you know, Hasbro's cheap, they don't want to make a new mold, so instead I guess maybe it's cheaper to make a smaller mold for these accent pieces and just stick them onto the legs before you stick on the feet, and that way you can use the same cast you have for the legs that you use for all your other female figures, and just keep printing out the multiple legs, so you don't have to spend money that way, and you can spend a little bit of money on this new mold for these accent pieces for her boots. I'm definitely gonna have to glue these down, because I hate how they just, when you move her legs around a bit, they fall out of place, and you have to spend time trying to push them back to keep them where you want them to be. But yeah, I'm not going to go into the articulation, because the articulation is the same for all these female figures, because they all use the same top body types, or body pieces. I will say that the diaphragm joint it's enough for you to pull back so you can get her in those flying poses, because the hair gets in the way, so you can't bend her head back at all to have her look up, which would really, really help. I kind of wish they could have came up with some kind of workaround for that. It would have been greatly appreciated, so that you can get her flying. I hate that the bicep swivel is in the elbow swivel, because it looks like her arm is broken, even though in this case, since she's got the jacket, you can't see the musculature, and that goes a long way to making it look like her arm is broken when you turn her at the elbow. She doesn't have double jointed elbows. That's about as far as you're gonna get. You know, her hands are standard because, you know, they're on pegs and a swivel. The overall, like, I pass on a lot of Marvel Legends female characters because they really need better articulation. They need to rework these bodies or retool them so that the articulation is better and you can get cooler poses out of them. I'm going to end up passing on the Spider-Gwen because I don't like the posability. She can't pose in those Spider-Man-like poses because she doesn't have the necessary waist articulation. You know, there's not enough of the diaphragm joint. There's not enough range of motion in the diaphragm joint that I can get her to to get her in those nice looking crouching positions. So I'm just gonna pass on her. They need ab crunch. If you're not gonna do the diaphragm joint any more justice, then give them the ab crunch to make up for the lack of movement in the diaphragm. Give them an actual bicep swivel, and make sure that all the characters can do a split. Like, this is as far as she can go. And since Rogue isn't a fighter, that's okay. She's more of like a brawler type. I've never seen her practice any kind of like actual martial arts. She just uses her strength to overwhelm her opponents. But this is as far as her legs can go. Obviously, if you are the kit bashing type, you can go in and retool the legs to give them more range of motion. But you shouldn't have to do that. You paid for the figure; it should already come that way. I just don't like Marvel Legends articulation. I don't like the cheap plastic they use. I mean, they still have the gummy joints, although these joints are better. And for everybody that out there that says, oh, well, they use the softer joints because if you drop them, they're going to shatter. Well, I have SH Figuarts figures, and I've dropped those guys off of my desk. I've dropped them on hardwood floors. They've never shattered, and they use a harder, much better plastic than Hasbro uses for their Marvel Legends characters and figures, and I've never had that problem. So that's bullshit. Whoever tells you that or posts it in a forum or on a message board or in a comment section, they're full of shit. You know, they don't shatter. And they're durable, so it's nonsense. Hasbro I wish they would just step their game up, but they're not going to, because we collectors run out and buy every single Marvel Legends they put out with gusto, and so they have no need to do better because we don't try and make them do better. We don't go out of our way to tell them they need to do better, so they're not going to. So we're going to keep getting these subpar figures that look halfway decent to shitty. Luckily, this is one of the figures that looks very decent. So that's going to do it for my little spot review on X-Men Legends Jim Lee Rogue. The only reason why I got this figure is because I'm trying to collect a 90s era X-Men lineup, and I'm almost done. Can't wait for the Cyclops figure that's coming out in the second wave. And that is pretty much going to do it for this review. I can't wait to catch you guys on the next one. Leave your comments, leave your, whatever you got to say. I definitely want to hear it. Subscribe if you like what you see, and I will catch you guys on the next review. I'm Agent O, and I'm out. Peace.